So guys, it's a little dark out here right now. Had some things I wanted to add in here. First of all, please watch to the end of the video. I got some news coming, but we're gonna get them headers installed, so enjoy. Alright, decided to get started on my headers tonight. This is the passenger side. It's supposed to be the hardest side. The other side's quite easy. I am not doing a how-to video, but I can leave a link to ThatLowDsg who did it before. But if you look right in here, well, you can see there's the starter. The top starter bolt is very easy to get to with this K-member. And notice I didn't have to move the K-member or drop it or anything. It's still bolted in to get these out. Now, I don't know about putting it in, but we shall see. But you can see the difference in the length of tube for each runner versus where that's just a straight shot out. When it comes out, it hits, it can cause turbulence. The exhaust pulse is not lining up because the path is too short. It can cause turbulence. Where this is tuned, that's why it's called tune length, to respond better. So it also includes these bolts, which the guy had all of, which is remarkable. And I have some studs that all of them came out, luckily. The headers was dropped not too long ago when Nick dropped them to do headers, and the headers ended up being an issue. So here we are back again, and we'll see if I can slide that in, see how well things line up, and see how I can get this started. But I'm told I might have to drop that starter. Some people have, some people haven't, and look at all that. Such an eyesore. Well, guys, it is in position. I did have to loosen the mount right there and slightly jack up the front. Normally you'd use a piece of wood, but I used this little concoction right here, just slightly enough to get it past. I scrape these things all to hell, but they're ceramic coated. I mean, maybe I can get up underneath there and touch up the stuff. I don't know. But there's that, and once I get up in there, I'll be able to tell if I still need to get the starter out or not. But I'm gonna deal with that tomorrow. But that's where I stand today. Such a sight for sore eyes, seeing them all scratched up. But this is the hard side. The other side is supposed to be very easy compared to this side. So we shall see. Guys, it's a few days later. I had to order this gasket. As you can see, mine was pretty messed up. I think it was installed backwards. The side that sticks out goes into the indention on the header side. Looks like mine was put in backwards and squished too much, and it busted out there, and in turn broke that. That's what it's supposed to look like. But it rained all day the other day, and I had to wait for them to order this anyway, so it is now 2. Alright guys, the headers are on. You can tell I've scraped most of the paint off for getting these in. A few tips that I will say. ThatLowDsg, he does tell you to start these top ones so you can, they're like right here, so you can slide them in. Well, I was trying to slide it in with a gasket, and I fought with it forever. And then I'm like, well, I'll get some tape up the gasket. Nothing would stick. And then I remembered Flexseal sent me this flex tape, which is badass. So I just started cutting off little strips, and you can see there's some right there. I taped the gasket up, and this thing went right in. After fighting with it for like a day and a half. That's all it took, is just a much stronger tape. Taped up the gasket, put it up. I'm gonna kind of spray up in there a little bit because, you know, I got this, but I got this stuff called rust reformer. You spray it on there and it instantly converts rust. I got a little surface rust here and there that is really getting on my nerves, and I'm ready to take care of it. So I'm gonna spray up in there. But this side is done. I just got to get the starter back on and the downpipe, and I can get moving on to the other side, which is supposedly the easy side. I started on the hard side first, and let me tell you, it is a pain in the butt. Supposedly that side over there is so easy that you don't even need the special short bolts. You can use all the studs on that side. There's nothing really blocking it. So there's a few bolts that you have to look in. So there's a bolt up here, and then there's a bolt back here that you have to kind of just put a bunch of extensions on and get up in there too. My fingers should be pointing right at that bolt, and then the L1 back here. And I'll show you the trick that I use. I use a stud back here, and the easiest thing that I found to get to it. So this is actually a 5mm. So what I did is I just put the 5mm on a long skinny extension and ran it up there and then started it. And once it got to going, I could use this to tighten it down. But always hand start it, because these are aluminum heads. You do not want to mess that up. So hand start it. Once you get it going and you know it's good, then you can use this to go in. And trust me, that was tight on the factory header. It's going to be tight on this because that flange is a little bit thicker. So they are in. The downpipe is installed. I have rust reformer sprayed on the block and all around. I didn't really care what I got sprayed on at this point, as long as it helps with the rust. I was able to get to the headers pretty good to recoat them. Not that it matters, but this side is done. I got to put my intake on. Starter's already back on. Even with it being easy, I decided to listen to the people and leave the top starter bolt out. But there she is on this side, and now we get to move to what is referred to as the easy side. I look forward to that. Well guys, the wheels are back on. The headers are in. Don't know how well y'all can see it, but they are in. The paint, I will say, I touched up a few spots and started it up before it was dry, and it kind of bubbled a little bit. But all in all, see the little bit right there, but I'm not that worried about it. I'll let this coat dry and then redo it. But extremely excited with it. Had a small little leak over here, tighten it down, and it's good. I will do a cold startup for y'all and get some of this stuff in here cleaned up and getting it looking better eventually. But I am now full bolt on. Throttle body, intake, quarter intake, headers, X-pipe, exhaust, 373 gears, underdrive pulleys, and soon to be nitrous. So full bolt on. PI intake, if you want to count that. It is the Dorman version, but it's still better than the NPI, and it's almost as good as the PI from the dynos I've seen. This needs repainting. Couple of things I will go over that ThatLowDsg may have covered, I'm not sure, but I found it easier to use a heavy duty tape. You can even use double-sided. Just use it at spots where it's not a mating surface. Put the gasket up and let it stick. In the spots with the studs, the reason I had an issue, hang on one second, I have one right here. The reason I had an issue, normally it's got these slots in the header, which mine does, and you would slide it over the stud and then put the nut on. My nuts, these are seized on to the studs, okay? Yes, my nuts are seized, but they are seized on here. I could not get them off. I tried the all these different methods, all of them came out as a whole unit like this. You can see I ground two sides flat of this one, tried to grab it. I still could not break it free. So it's got a few of these, and the rest of the ones are the bolts that came with it, which I have a few left over for the studs that I use. So this side over here, loosen the bolts on the factory manifold. The bottom one over here above the oil filter, if you have a Cobra oil cooler like I do not take out all the bolts. Take that one out first, because what will happen is it'll drop down even more and you have even less room and you're fighting it. So make sure you just loosen it, take that one out first. Now, when you put the headers on, the way this very last one comes out, it comes out and up, okay? Well, you can get to the bottom through the header hole. The top, you cannot, and it is a pain. I had to go underneath the header between that and the head and have a wrench and barely a little bit at a time to tighten it. Same with the bottom. There is one on the bottom right below that one where you can barely get the wrench up in there. It takes time, but it's worth it in my opinion, especially since I got these on Now, I will say the question that's been asked, I've did a ton of research on this. The question that's been asked is, if I didn't get these on trade, would I have bought them and did this install? And I will say, after doing this install, probably not. I probably would have went long tubes, just because long tubes, the way they come out, you have easier access to the bolts. But that's more money that I wasn't going to spend, and like I said, I got these on trade. So the issue I had, even watching ThatLowDsg's, when he did his, he had his K-member out. I have my tubular K-member in. He had new studs. I did not. I simped on stuff like that, and it cost me a little bit more time. Now that I know all the little tips and tricks, I would have bought new studs and had 90% of it done. It would have took half the time, half the hassle. Would I do this again in a situation like this where it was free or a trade? Yeah, I would. Would I pay money for this? No. And I'll tell you, the first day when I was fighting, I started on what they call the hard side, which is the passenger side. I was saying, I will never do this again. This is the most aggravating thing. But then there's these aha moments like, oh wow, okay, that makes sense now. Oh wow, this is so much easier. And then you get to your next stag where you can't get a bolt in, and then all of a sudden you see a little hole that you can get through, or there's so many little things. But knowing all the little tips and tricks now, it probably would have took maybe a day and a half, maybe 2 days. That's with my back being the way it is. But like I said, I did start it up to check for leaks. I had one over here that I fixed, hopefully for good. That's about it for now. I will do a cold start up and let some of that paint heat up and stuff after it's dried, probably tomorrow. Alright, I did want to cover one thing. I did show it on Instagram. I did a block off. I used 2 pennies, and people was asking if that was going to burn through or not. Basically, you want to use an 82 or older penny because they are copper. I used 2 pennies together, but I also filled this with a manifold repair JB Weld. It's super high heat. It's supposed to be up to 2,500 degrees. So the whole tube is filled all the way up to that point, and then 2 copper pennies. Copper melts at over 1,900 degrees, where the new pennies are 95% zinc, and they melt at like 700 degrees. So that's why people have blowouts. But like I said, I used 2 copper and the backside's filled. But Nick did have these off about a year ago when I bought some headers that did not fit. We had issues with them. So when he was off, I had the EGR was tuned out, and he welded this shut. He just crimped it with pliers and welded it up. So if that does happen to leak, I do have a repair right here. Like I said, already welded up, no issues there. So it's easy accessible with them headers, and that's just wanted to cover that real quick. But I am extremely excited to have it back on the ground. Got about an hour, it says, before you heat cycle the paint. So go inside and take a shower and get cleaned up and come out and give y'all a first start. Well guys, didn't get what I felt was a proper cold start the other day with all the noise going on and my belt squill, but I put some belt dressing on there, and I got this beautiful sunset behind me. I'm gonna get a proper cold start with the new headers. I took it for a drive today, and it does have a very distinct sound that I took a little bit to get used to. I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know how to explain the sound. That's the best I can do, like a little kid, would be the stock ones was made like a duh, 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 duh. I don't, this makes more of a pop, 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 pop. So I don't really know how to explain it, but it's different. It's definitely unique, and it's actually a little bit more quiet. Quiet as in tame, more mellow. It sounds more, I don't know, put together. But let's get this cold start done. Alright guys, you may have recalled I said I had a little bit of news. So tomorrow I start back to work. Sky Industries, making handguns, the SCCY. They have the CPX 1, 2, 3, and 4. Currently concealed 9mm and 380s is what they have now. But that's where I'll be going back to work. So the uploads might not be Monday, it might be Friday, might be wherever. Once I get into the rhythm of things, I'll have a set upload day. But I also want to say, the guy that sent me the parts before, Jason Moore, the Underdrive Police, he is starting his channel up. And guys, I wish, please do me a favor, go subscribe to his channel. He's got great content coming. He's got an awesome build. Might involve a GT500 bottom end, but you know, you have to watch and see. But please give Jason Moore, I'll leave the link in the description. Please click on it, please subscribe, and I'll make you a deal. Everybody that subscribes to his channel goes to his last video and say Horseplay sent me. Everybody that does that, when I do the next contest, you'll get 2 entries instead of 1. So thanks for watching.
I won't turn around, I done made it this far. Look back now, that wouldn't be too smart. Shoot for the stars even when it gets hard. Put my faith in the Lord with these 16 bars. I won't turn around, I done made it this far. Look back now, that wouldn't be too smart. Shoot for the stars even when it gets hard. Put my faith in the Lord with these 16 bars. I won't turn around, I won't turn around. No matter how far I go, I'll never